When Gozde Balbudak looked lovingly across the table at her date, Koray Alpergin, at the exclusive Novikov in central London, she had no idea of the horror that was to play out after their meal. Within 2 hours of leaving, both would be kidnapped, bundled into a convoy of cars and taken to a remote location, and only one of them would survive. As the pair dined at the restaurant, often frequented by celebrity, they were unaware of the plot that was being concocted only meters away. A group of men had concealed a tracker on Alpergin's Audi that was parked outside, and they would be followed back to his flat in Enfield, South London. The couple were outside his flat when they were bundled into a convoy of 3 vehicles and taken to a wine bar where Alpergin was stripped naked and horrifically tortured. Mr. Alpergin was beaten, throttled, burned and stabbed before his body was dumped in an Essex woodland. But who was Alpergin, and what was he involved in that meant he had such an extreme fate? And who were the group that carried out the attack and took such risks in public? You are watching OCG TV. Koray Alpergin was 43 years old and a part-time DJ. He regularly performed at a Turkish restaurant, Laz Camden, in Camden Town. He previously owned Silica Cafe in Stoke Newington and was the founder of London-based Turkish radio stations Bizim FM and Koray FM. Alpergin had been expecting trouble for some time. Alpergin had confided in a friend that during a visit to Turkey, he had said the wrong thing to the wrong people and they wanted to question him about it. On September 24, 2022, he and a friend were driving back to his address in separate cars. Mr. Alpergin told his friend that his car was making odd noises, to which his friend asked, "Are you sure your car was not bugged?" Mr. Alpergin did not laugh at the comment, and it turned out that the tracking device was fitted to his car just the day before. As his friend was leaving later that evening, he asked them to let him know if there was a white van parked outside. The following day, he and his girlfriend dined in Mayfair at the exclusive Novikov restaurant. They took the 50-minute drive home via the North Circular Road and parked up outside his apartment on Ebony Crescent in Enfield. As Koray Alpergin got out of his Audi car, a man ran towards him. That man was followed by 3 others. Although Mr. Alpergin tried to run away, they quickly caught him. He was frog-marched past his own car and bundled into a white van parked nearby. The van had arrived alongside a Volkswagen Polo, and the gang had 8 there in total. Miss Balbudak had remained in the car. She was later to tell the police that she heard the sound of a scuffle. A masked man appeared at the window of the car. He had a knife. He told Miss Balbudak to be quiet. She got out of the car and he led her over to the van. The van was driven away with Mr. Alpergin and Miss Balbudak in the back. It is still unclear as to the reason that Alpergin was kidnapped and treated so brutally. However, the crime bears all the hallmarks of being linked to serious organised crime, almost certainly drugs. The couple were taken to the Stadium Lounge wine bar close to the Tottenham Hotspur football stadium where Alpergin was stripped naked and tortured. It was here that he was subject to the most awful brutality. A later post-mortem examination identified 94 visible injuries, including bruising, suggesting he was beaten with a baseball bat, and boiling water was poured over him. The soles of both feet were stabbed, while his genitals and anus were injured. Neck marks showed he was eventually strangled with a ligature. While her boyfriend was tortured within earshot, Miss Balbudak was kept in a lavatory within the Stadium Lounge wine bar in Tottenham before being released 2 days later. Upon her release, she made her way to a restaurant in Islington, which was the only place in London she knew, and walked up to the owner, who was a friend of Mr. Alpergin. She had a bruised eye and nose and was wearing an oversized jacket and a beanie hat, which had been given to her by the kidnappers. She was so disheveled, and her appearance was so drastically different to when she met the shop owner a few days prior, he did not recognize her. He thought she was a homeless woman who had entered his store to ask for money. Such was her level of trauma, she later returned to Turkey and refused to come back to England to give evidence in the later court case. The 34-year-old recalled her boyfriend telling her, "My love, don't be scared," before he cried out in pain as he was beaten. Alpergin had been courageous and selfless in his final moments. He may have been involved in criminality, but it was not obvious from the outside. He was a well-known and popular figure within the Turkish community in London. The DJ enjoyed a celebrity lifestyle, being photographed with the rapper Sean Combs, better known as Diddy, and Salt Bey, the Turkish chef and restaurateur. However, it was also later revealed that he was heavily in debt, owing £32,405 for his Audi, as well as other claims against him. Not the financial status of a top organised criminal. He was initially treated as a missing person when police were contacted on the 14th of October 2022 after his friend became concerned for his welfare. But the next day, Koray's body was found near to Oakwood Hill Industrial Estate in Loughton, and homicide detectives began an investigation. The individuals responsible for his death were careful to cover their tracks by cleaning the restaurant and burning out cars used to move his body. However, police cracked the case through painstaking and lengthy analysis of CCTV that demonstrated the group's collective activity and presence at key locations. They also presented detailed mobile phone records in court showing how the gang were in contact before, during and after Koray was kidnapped. Ali Kavak, aged 26, of De Quincey Road in Tottenham, was found guilty of manslaughter, kidnap, false imprisonment and perverting the course of justice. He received 13 years jail time. Tajine Kennedy, aged 33, of Cricklewood Broadway, was found guilty of manslaughter, kidnap and false imprisonment and received 18 years. Stefan Gordon, aged 34, of De Havilland Close in Northolt, pleaded guilty to kidnap and was found guilty of false imprisonment. He received 8 years. Samuel Owosu Opoku, aged 35, of Dunbar Road in Wood Green, pleaded guilty to perverting the course of justice and was found guilty of kidnap. He received 7 years in prison. The 4 men were jailed at the Old Bailey as it emerged they are associated with the notorious Tottenham Turks. The international organised crime gang is linked to more than a dozen murders in London over the past decade. The gang, described as the Kurdish Mafia, began with people and drug smuggling and extortion of businesses. It has used the vast wealth from its illicit activities to invest in legitimate businesses across the capital and is also linked to funding the PKK, the militant Kurdish nationalists based in Turkey. Their activities have recently come into the mainstream media within the UK after shots were fired by a helmeted attacker on a stolen motorbike towards the Evan Turkish restaurant on Kingsland High Street in Hackney. An innocent girl, only 9 years of age, who was having dinner with her family inside was shot, along with 3 men sitting outside. The intended target was a 37-year-old man understood to be linked to the Turkish criminal underworld, who previously survived another gangland hit near Clissold Park in Stoke Newington in August 2020. The shooting was allegedly part of a long-running feud between 2 rival gangs known as the Tottenham Turks and the Hackney Bombaşılar, which means bombers in Turkish. According to news reports at the time, the 3 men who suffered gunshot wounds had links to the Bombaşılar clan. The Bombaşılar mob has acquired a fearsome reputation within London's Turkish community and is run by the Babasan brothers, who are simply referred to as the family. The head of the vicious mob was previously Hussein Babasan, 67, who has been called the Pablo Escobar of Europe and nicknamed the Emperor after taking control of much of the heroin being exported from the poppy fields of Afghanistan in the 1970s. The control of the heroin trade in Britain has long been associated with Turkish gangland, and the Tottenham Turks are at the forefront of that industry. On the day of making this video, 11th of July 2024, one of the leaders of the Tottenham Turks was shot dead in Moldova. Izzet Eren, 41, was sitting on a cafe terrace in the Riscani district of Chisinau when an assailant on an electric scooter fired multiple shots, hitting him in the head. The attacker escaped, and local police described the incident as a professional killing. He had been arrested in London in 2015 for carrying a loaded pistol and a machine gun while on his way to carry out a murder. While Eren was being transferred from jail to Wood Green Crown Court 2 months later, an attempt was made to break him out of the prison van. Police foiled the plot but shot dead Jermaine Baker, one of the men allegedly planning to help Eren escape. The police marksman is currently awaiting a gross misconduct hearing. Eren was later sentenced to 21 years jail and was transferred to a prison in Turkey in 2019. He escaped a month later to Moldova, where he had been rearrested. He was out on the streets as a free man waiting to be deported back to the UK to serve his prison sentence when he was shot. Eren's brother, Zafer, was killed in 2013 by a gunman from the Hackney Turks. Another brother, Kamal No Fingers Eren, 46, is wanted by police on suspicion of ordering a series of killings in London. He is believed to be in Turkey. The rival Turkish gangs have been embroiled in a bloody feud since an argument at the Manor Club in Finsbury Park, in which a member of the Eren family slapped the leader of the Amagan family, the patriarch of the Hackney Turks, in 2009. It is unknown how Koray Alpergin was dragged into this vacuum of violence. It is presumed he was killed for something he knew or had done, given the lack of demand for a ransom or similar exchange for his safe return. His murder is a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the unpredictable nature of violence. The choices you make in life and the path you choose to walk will almost always catch up with you. Thanks for watching.